There's a ritual, one you've probably performed 10,000 times. It feels automatic now, natural, even necessary. You wake up, your body's still heavy with sleep, and within minutes, you reach for it. That first cup of coffee. The warmth in your hands. The aroma that promises clarity. The bitter kiss that seems to wake not just your mind, but your very soul. But what if I told you that this moment, this seemingly innocent morning embrace, might be quietly accelerating the aging of your cells? Not because coffee itself is the enemy, but because of when you drink it. After 50, your body doesn't play by the same rules it once did. The biological systems that once forgave your habits, now remember them. And nowhere is this more true than in the delicate dance between cortisol, caffeine, and the cellular machinery that determines whether you age gracefully or rapidly. Let me take you inside a single morning, your morning, and show you what's really happening beneath the surface of your skin, deep within the architecture of your cells, in those first crucial hours after you open your eyes. It begins in darkness. Even before you wake, your body has been preparing. Around 4 or 5 in the morning, while you're still lost in dreams. A small region at the base of your brain, the hypothalamus, sends out a signal. It's a molecular alarm clock, cascading through your endocrine system, triggering your adrenal glands to release cortisol. This is your natural cortisol awakening response. It's ancient, evolutionary, designed to mobilize energy, sharpen focus, and prepare you for the day ahead. Cortisol levels rise steadily, peaking about 30 to 45 minutes after you wake. This surge isn't stress, it's readiness. Your body's way of saying, I'm prepared for whatever comes next. But here's where the story takes a turn. When you drink coffee immediately upon waking, especially on an empty stomach, you repeat, pouring gasoline on a fire that's already burning bright. Caffeine doesn't just wake you up. It triggers your adrenal glands to produce even more cortisol. Now you have 2 surges happening at once, your natural morning peak, and an artificial spike induced by the very substance you thought was helping you. For a younger body, this might go unnoticed. The system rebounds, adapts, recovers, but after 50, something shifts. Your cells become less resilient. Your hormonal feedback loops grow more sensitive, and chronic elevation of cortisol, even subtle, repeated elevation, begins to leave marks. Not the kind you can see in a mirror right away, but the kind that accumulate, silently, at the molecular level. Let's zoom in further. Into the mitochondria, those tiny powerhouses inside each of your cells, responsible for generating the energy that fuels every heartbeat, every thought, every breath. Mitochondria are extraordinarily sensitive to stress hormones. When cortisol remains elevated, particularly in the morning when your body is trying to establish metabolic balance, these cellular engines begin to struggle. They produce less ATP, the energy currency of life. And in that struggle, they generate more reactive oxygen species, free radicals that damage DNA, proteins, and the delicate membranes that hold your cells together. This is oxidative stress. And oxidative stress, over time, is one of the primary drivers of biological aging. But it doesn't stop there. Chronic morning cortisol spikes disrupt something even more fundamental, your circadian rhythm, that internal clock that governs not just when you feel sleepy or alert, but when your cells repair themselves, when inflammation subsides, when your brain consolidates memories. After 50, circadian resilience declines. Your body needs more regularity, not less. It craves predictable hormonal patterns. When you flood your system with caffeine before your cortisol has naturally descended from its morning peak, you create hormonal static. Your body loses its rhythm. Sleep quality deteriorates, not tonight, necessarily, but cumulatively, over weeks and months. And poor sleep, as we now know, is inseparable from accelerated aging. It's during deep sleep that your brain clears metabolic waste, that your cells undergo autophagy, that profound cellular cleaning process that removes damaged components and rejuvenates your tissues. Interrupt that process, and you interrupt regeneration itself. There's another layer to this story, one that touches the very essence of how we age: inflammation. In your gut, trillions of bacteria form an ecosystem more complex than any rainforest. These microorganisms aren't just passengers, they're active participants in your health, producing neurotransmitters, regulating immunity, even influencing mood. But this ecosystem is fragile, especially after 50. When you drink coffee on an empty stomach, first thing in the morning, you're introducing a highly acidic substance into a gut that's been fasting all night. Your stomach lining is vulnerable. The coffee stimulates acid production even further, and in the absence of food, to buffer it. That acidity can irritate the intestinal barrier, the thin wall that separates your gut contents from your bloodstream. Over time, repeated morning coffee on an empty stomach can contribute to increased intestinal permeability. You may have heard it called leaky gut. When this barrier becomes compromised, partially digested food particles and bacterial fragments can slip into your bloodstream, triggering an immune response. Your body interprets these as invaders. Inflammation rises, and chronic, low-grade inflammation, What scientists call inflammaging is perhaps the single most significant hallmark of biological aging. It damages your blood vessels, contributes to insulin resistance, impairs cognitive function, and accelerates the breakdown of collagen in your skin. That morning cup of coffee, drunk at the wrong time, becomes a daily invitation for inflammation to take root. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but I feel better when I drink coffee in the morning. I need it to function, and you're not wrong. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors in your brain, adenosine being the molecule that accumulates throughout the day and makes you feel tired. By blocking these receptors, caffeine creates a sense of alertness, even energy. It works. There's no denying that. But here's the paradox. The very thing that makes you feel more awake in the moment may be making you more tired in the long run, because when you rely on coffee to override your natural cortisol rhythm, you train your body to become dependent on that external stimulus. Your adrenal glands, repeatedly called upon to produce cortisol on command, begin to show signs of dysfunction. Not adrenal fatigue, that's a misunderstood term, but rather dysregulation. Your natural cortisol curve flattens. You produce less in the morning when you actually need it, and more in the evening when you should be winding down. This disrupts everything: your energy, your sleep, your metabolism, your mood. And the cruel irony is that the more dysregulated your cortisol becomes, the more you feel you need that morning coffee, which only perpetuates the cycle. So what's the alternative? If you've spent decades greeting the morning with coffee, the idea of changing this ritual might feel impossible. But understanding the science opens a door not to deprivation, but to optimization, to working with your body's rhythms rather than against them. The solution isn't to abandon coffee, it's to respect timing. Imagine a different morning. You wake, your cortisol is rising naturally, doing exactly what it's meant to do. Instead of reaching immediately for caffeine, you give your body space. You hydrate first, a glass of water, perhaps with a pinch of sea salt to replenish electrolytes lost during sleep. You move gently, allowing blood flow to increase, oxygen to circulate. Maybe you step outside for 5 minutes, exposing your eyes to natural light. This isn't mere wellness theater. Morning light exposure, even on a cloudy day, sends a powerful signal to your suprachiasmatic nucleus, the master clock in your brain. It anchors your circadian rhythm, telling every cell in your body, day has begun. Align yourselves accordingly. This simple act improves sleep quality 12 hours later, enhances mood, and supports healthy cortisol patterns. Then, perhaps 60 to 90 minutes after waking, once your natural cortisol peak has begun its descent, you have your coffee. But not on an empty stomach. You pair it with food, protein, healthy fats, perhaps some fiber, a meal that stabilizes blood sugar and provides a buffer for your gut lining. Now the caffeine works with your biology, not against it. It enhances focus without triggering excess cortisol. It energizes without depleting, and your gut remains protected, your circadian rhythm undisturbed. This subtle shift, this recalibration of timing, can have profound effects that ripple through your entire physiology. Let's return to those mitochondria, those cellular powerhouses we visited earlier. When cortisol patterns remain balanced, when inflammation stays low, when your circadian rhythm holds steady, these tiny engines thrive. They produce energy efficiently, with minimal oxidative damage. And here's something remarkable. Mitochondria have their own DNA, separate from the DNA in your cell nucleus. This mitochondrial DNA is particularly vulnerable to damage from oxidative stress and inflammation. But when protected, when the conditions are right, mitochondria can actually increase in number and improve in function, even as you age. This process is called mitochondrial biogenesis. It's one of the key mechanisms behind the anti-aging effects of exercise, caloric restriction, and certain nutritional compounds. And it's profoundly influenced by your hormonal environment. By simply adjusting when you consume caffeine, you create a more favorable environment for mitochondrial health, more energy, better cellular repair, slower biological aging. The same principle applies to your brain. Caffeine, when timed correctly, is actually neuroprotective. It enhances the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that supports the growth and survival of neurons. It improves memory consolidation and may reduce the risk of neurodegenerative diseases. But these benefits emerge most powerfully when caffeine doesn't interfere with sleep architecture or create chronic stress hormone elevation. After 50, brain health becomes increasingly precious. Neural plasticity, your brain's ability to form new connections, to adapt, to learn naturally declines. But it doesn't have to decline rapidly. When you protect your sleep, manage inflammation, and maintain stable energy throughout the day, you create conditions for cognitive resilience. That morning coffee, moved to mid-morning and consumed with food, becomes a cognitive enhancer rather than a stressor. There is also the matter of insulin, that crucial hormone responsible for managing blood sugar and storing energy. When cortisol is chronically elevated, insulin sensitivity decreases. Your cells become less responsive to insulin signals, requiring your pancreas to produce more and more just to maintain normal blood sugar levels. Over time, this can progress toward insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, and type 2 diabetes, conditions that dramatically accelerate aging and increase the risk of virtually every chronic disease. But here's what's less widely known. The timing of cortisol elevation matters enormously for insulin function. Your morning cortisol peak is natural and necessary. It actually helps liberate stored glucose to provide energy for the day ahead. But when you artificially spike cortisol even higher with immediate caffeine intake, especially without food, you create a metabolic mismatch. Blood sugar rises, but there's no incoming nutrition to justify it. Insulin rushes in to manage the spike, and over years of repetition, this pattern contributes to insulin resistance. Conversely, when you eat a balanced breakfast before having coffee, protein, healthy fats, complex carbohydrates, you provide your body with real fuel. Blood sugar rises gradually, insulin responds proportionally, and the moderate caffeine boost that follows works synergistically with stable blood sugar to enhance focus and energy without creating metabolic chaos. This is longevity at the cellular level. Not through dramatic interventions or expensive supplements, but through understanding and respecting the fundamental biology of being human. I want to share something personal now, not about me, but about you. You're not reading this by accident. Something brought you here, perhaps a sense that your energy isn't what it once was. That sleep has become elusive, that your body feels different after 50. Perhaps you've noticed the subtle ways time seems to be leaving its mark, and you're searching for answers that go deeper than surface-level advice. Here's the truth. Aging is inevitable, but how you age is remarkably negotiable. Every morning you wake up, you're presented with a choice. Not a choice between youth and age that's beyond your control, but a choice between supporting your biology or working against it. Between honoring the wisdom your cells carry, or ignoring their signals until they can no longer be ignored. The morning mistake isn't really about coffee. It's about misunderstanding the conversation your body has been trying to have with you for years. Your body speaks in the language of hormones, circadian rhythms, cellular energy, and inflammatory markers. It's been whispering and sometimes shouting about what it needs to thrive. What if you started listening? This isn't about perfection. Some mornings you'll wake up and want that immediate cup of coffee, and that's okay. Life isn't a laboratory experiment. But what if, more often than not, you gave your body those 60 to 90 minutes? What if you hydrated first, moved gently, saw the morning light, ate something nourishing, and then enjoyed your coffee? What if this one shift, this single recalibration of timing, became the thread you pulled that began to unravel years of accumulated stress on your system? Because here's what the research shows. Small, consistent changes in daily habits create exponential effects over time, not overnight, not even in a week, but over months and years. These micro decisions compound into macro outcomes. They become the difference between vibrant longevity and gradual decline. Your cells are listening. Your mitochondria are watching. Your circadian clock is keeping time. And every morning, you get to choose what story you're telling them. The sun rises, whether you're ready or not. But how you meet it, how you honor the delicate biological symphony playing out inside you, that is entirely within your power. So tomorrow morning, when you wake and that familiar craving for coffee pulls at you, pause. Take a breath. Remember what's happening beneath the surface. Remember that your body, even after 50, is still capable of remarkable resilience, regeneration, and renewal. All it's asking for is a little time, a little understanding, a little respect for the rhythms that have kept humans alive for hundreds of thousands of years. Give it that, and watch what becomes possible. The morning mistake that accelerates aging isn't drinking coffee. It's forgetting that your body is wiser than any habit you've formed. And the morning wisdom that slows aging, it's remembering that truth and living accordingly.